www.digitalocean.com and create account. You'll put in your email, it'll receive a verification code. From here, we're going to put in our credit card details, and we're going to say create a new droplet. And we want to go with the smallest, cheapest, most basic one that we can. Less than a penny an hour. We're going to use Ubuntu 16.04. And being in the US, pretty much anywhere in the US will be fine. We don't need any of these extras. And you can add your SSH key. You don't have to. Just hit create. All right, the most important part is this IP address right here. And copy that and hold it for later. Go ahead and click on it. Okay, since we skipped the part where we put in our SSH keys, we're going to hit this reset root password. I know it sounds scary. We're just going to do it. So now that we know our password, because we just got an email, we're going to log in as root, and you cannot copy and paste this. So I'm going to try my hardest not to fat finger it. Now we're going to go ahead and change it to something that you know and love. And we're in. Awesome. So next step is we're going to create a super non-root user. So I'm going to create a user named Evan. Oops. Just with add user Evan. And type in a password for me. Confirm the password. And you can leave all these blank. Type Y. Now for the magic part, say user mod -ag sudo Evan. And we're done. I was using the option to use the terminal right from the web browser. On a Mac or Linux-based machine, it's probably easier just to go right to the terminal. If you're on Windows, then probably you should stick with the web browser instead of installing new software. I created a non-root super user, and now we're going to increase the swap file. I'm just going to go ahead and SSH in, and there we go. I know that for non-Linux or Unix type people, these command lines seem a little cryptic. I'm going to put a cheat sheet at the end for everybody. So we're going to create a 1 gig swap file. And we can see that we did it. Right there. We're going to love these terms. We're going to schmod it. Like saying schmod, it's fun. Check the permissions. And it's now available for read-write. And we're going to turn it into a swap file. So far we've been referring to our droplet by its IP address, and that gets kind of confusing. So we're going to go here to GoDaddy. I'm going to pick out a name, and I'm going to pick one up really cheap so that we can refer to this in any browser. And it looks like I can get this name for $2.99. Don't buy anything else. You just need a name that you can reference it. Don't worry about anything else. Say no thanks to everything. Just going to register it for 1 year. Now that I have that domain, I'm going to go in there, manage my domains. So my domain is now ready. I am logged in. I'm just going to go to manage my domains. Manage DNS is what we want to do. And we're going to change the A record on it. I know that makes a ton of sense to non-techies. I'm just going to go ahead and plug in the IP address that we got from DigitalOcean. And hit save. And that's pretty much that. Should be able to do something as simple as say, and look at that. Instead of having to memorize an IP address, I'm now into my DigitalOcean droplet. All right, we are going to SSH into our droplet. And install node. You'll want to copy and paste this command. At the end of that, we now have node, and we're also going to want to put on the build essential tools. And then there are two packages we want to install with the -G, which stands for global switch. So we're going to put on forever. Whoops, forgot to sudo it. So do sudo npm install -G forever. And we're going to do the same for grunt. It would help to put in npm. That's it for this step. Next, we are going to get SSL encryption on our new site. And we're going to do that by installing Let's Encrypt. First, we're going to do any updates that we need. And then we're going to put a package on called Let's Encrypt. So we're going to use Nano to do that. Don't be too scared by it. It's not that bad. We are going to drop a little snippet into one of these server blocks. So let's put it right here. because I'm a nit, I like proper tabbing. To get out of Nano, all we have to do is hit Control X, Y, Enter, done. Now we're going to check our configuration. And it looks like it's okay. So now we're going to do a restart so that configuration takes hold. And we're going to run Let's Encrypt. So I will put this in the description. You can just copy and paste. And we're going to use my sample site, which was called T1D Zoe. And we just need the www version. Enter. Agree. And when we got the important notes, well, we know that everything was successful because we see this. And we're going to completely replace this file with a copy paste from the notes. So we need to change it from the Zlotniks to T1D Zoe. And this is how we're going to get our node application running because it's running on a different port and it's not static content. A few more changes. And this is where we're going to set up. Make sure that your username is right here. Mine is Evan that I'm using. And this is sort of arbitrary, but just follow the convention, you'll be fine. So Control X, Y, Enter, and we're done. Let's make sure that the changes are valid with the nginx command. Looks like everything's good. So let's go ahead and restart. And after all that work, we should be able to get a nice error message. And we got a 404 error message, which is actually a good thing. And you can see that we now have HTTPS enabled and that it's a valid certificate. Pretty awesome. So the next part is, this is actually the hardest part that we just finished. The next part will be setting up the server and the client so that you don't get this message and our config file. But from there, it's really smooth sailing. Along at home, we are so close to being done, just bear with me. The next step is we're going to go to MLab and we're going to get a persistent store or a database where we're going to keep all our information. Let's just go here to MLab and then sign up. All right, that wasn't too bad. We're going to have to go to my email and verify it. I'll do that outside of this process. So I just went and I verified my email and I'm now in the main screen. I'm going to create a new. And let's just go ahead and use Amazon. The region doesn't really matter. And the most important part is that we want to stay on a single node sandbox. Most important part, free. And 0.5 gigabyte is actually a ton of storage for what we need. I'll just give it a name and the $0 a month and create new. What we're going to do is click right here on the database we just created, and what we're going to do is create a new database user. Doesn't really matter what you call it, we're just going to save this and hold on to it. And we do not want to be read-only. If you look right here, this connection string is the most important part. We're going to replace DB user with Evan, and then we're going to replace the DB password, the password that I just typed in. So this is the part that you're going to need to copy and hold on to. Clone, paste in this URL. And then we're going to cd into that directory that just got created. And we're going to edit our .n file. And the key here to the .n file is the reason why we do this is because we do not want passwords being stored in Git. So we're going to keep everything private. So don't freak out too much about this because I'm going to put all these little things in the instructions. But for now, just paste this in. So put your Dexcom username. I'll walk through this. Your Dexcom username, Dexcom password, the Mongo URI, which is what we just did. Port, I would leave at 3000. Time zone, I'll show you right after this how to get a list of time zones. Being in Austin, Texas, I'm using America, Chicago. The next two things you could skip for the time being, put your child in. You probably want to put it in quotes if you're going to use a space. If you're not using a space, then it doesn't really matter. And then we'll get our Twilio number in just a minute. And then remember, it's just Control X, Y, Enter, and you're done. Show how to list all the time zones when I realized I forgot to do something super important, and that's that we need to do sudo npm install. What this does is it goes through our package JSON and it figures out what third-party packages to install. And it'll do all this for us. It's pretty simple once you execute the command. Let this run for just a minute, and then we'll be able to list our time zones. All right, now we hit node list time zone JS, and you can see all of them. If you're in the United States, you probably want to look at the ones in America. Interesting point is Indiana has like 4 time zones just themselves. I don't know why I find that funny. But some of the major cities are called out. You have one for Los Angeles, you have one for New York, you have one for Chicago. Phoenix has its own time. Shout out to my hometown because they don't observe daylight savings time. That's one of the things I love about Phoenix the most. So I'm going to go configure my .n file, and once I do that, I'll show you the server working. So I edited my .n file off screen so that no one sees all my super secret passwords. And now all we do is type in forever start app.js. And that seemed super anticlimactic, but it's actually running. We type forever list. We can see that it's right there. And this is a pretty cool feature. We can do tail-f, and then we put in the log file from the line above, and we can see what's going on in real time. And it's telling you that it actually went in and it pulled the reading. But that's not nearly as cool because we can't really see what's going on. For that, we need to go ahead and install the UI portion of it. And I don't know why I did this, but when I first set this up for myself, I created a directory called static, and that's the way I configured Nginx as well. So we're going to go up one directory from here. So we should be at your root directory. We're going to make their static, cd static, and from there, we're going to clone the client repository with git clone, and then I'll get the URL. we'll paste that in right here. So we're going to cd into that directory, and we're going to remember to do npm install this time. And there's a variety of packages that I've used to make things look a little bit nicer and easier to use. This should just take a minute or two, and then we'll do a grunt build, and the whole thing should be working after that. So keep in mind that this is the most bare bones, lightest weight virtual machine we can get. It has the equivalent of 512 megabytes, which is just tiny. The build process is actually going to take 1 to 2 minutes. So I'll just kick it off, and then I'll resume the video after that, after we finish with the npm install. It goes faster if you swirl the mouse. Just kidding. All right, and now for the magic, we're just going to type in grunt build, and this will take about a minute or so. See you after the break. One crucial thing I forgot to do before I kicked off the grunt build, and I wound up paying for it. So let's learn from my mistake. We're here, do cd source, and then you're going to go to the constants file, and you're going to edit the constants file. So it's nano constants.js. And here I had it set for the configuration I was using in development. What we want to do, make sure to put the HTTPS in, and we're going to change it for the URL that we registered. And it's www.t1dzoe.com, and then put a /API/ and then Control X, Y, enter, done. Now I'm going to kick off the build again. This far, this is the most magical moment. We're going to go to the URL. I did this all from scratch, so everything should be working exactly the way we expect it. So I type in t1dzoe.com. I've set up the client, I've set up the server, I've registered everything, I've set up a database. Watch what happens when we hit enter. And boom, there it is. There's my daughter's glucose in real time. So from here, I can go in, I can type login. We're going to use the same password that we used for our Dexcom password. And once we do that, we're going to see we have something called admin tasks, and I can maintain somebody. Right now I have nobody in there, so I can put in a new person, and I'm going to use a fake phone number. If you want to make somebody set to expire, you can go ahead and do that. So if you have somebody who's going to be babysitting for just the day, today is the 28th, so I could say 12/28. Then if I forgot to expire this person, then they would not receive messages so that they don't get bothered by things that they're not going to take action on. If you leave this blank, it defaults to December 30th, 99.99, so pretty much forever. So everything is based on the concept of a time band. So you can set, I like to set from the hours of 10 o'clock at the night till 7 a.m. What I really want to do is to be able to get phone calls and text messages, but then during the day, I only want to get text messages. So I can create additional events just by clicking add event, and then if I make a mistake, I can delete them. I can create additional time bands by clicking add time band. So then I would say from 7 o'clock a.m. until 10 p.m. This would be the same low event, but now instead of receiving calls, I'm just going to receive text messages. And the reason why I do this is I've set up the number that I got from Twilio as a dedicated number, and that way it goes right through my do not disturb. So when I have alerts from fantasy football that goes off at 11 o'clock when I'm trying to sleep, that's not the alert that I want 11 o'clock at night. My daughter going low is the alert that I want. If I hit submit, it got saved. Now you can see me here, and you can go ahead and see that these are the options that I chose. Sadly, in an effort to get this finished and finished quickly, we don't have an edit feature. So if you want to change something, you're going to have to delete the user and then add them in again and start over again. Sorry about that. I take pull requests, and I will consider adding in editing functionality in a future release. So that shows you the whole system working except for one part, and that is I'm going to show you how to go to Twilio and get your own dedicated number, which you can then add to your favorites so that goes right through the do not disturb. So the next section is how to get your the information that you need for Twilio, and you're going to need to go ahead and add that to your .env file. Okay, so let's finish the part so that we can actually get our messages. We're going to go to twilio.com, and we're going to do a sign up, provide some information, and I'm going to leave my password or my email here in case anyone wants to get a hold of me and ask me questions. I'm going to put in a password. I don't know. I'm going to set it to Node. I'm going to stop here so I don't give out my phone number. Receive the verification code. I'm going to type that in. Pretty straightforward. Okay. Here's the big thing that I want to call out. In the .env file, there's a field for account SID and the auth token. You're going to be able to click this eyeball. It'll show it to you in clear text. You can copy and paste that from there. So those are some of the things that you're going to need. And one more piece of the puzzle, we're going to need a dedicated phone number. Payment information, you should be able to come in here and you should be able to select buy a phone number. And you should be able to make it dedicated to, you want to be able to have voice and SMS. Once you've done that, you'll see the phone numbers that you have. And you're going to want to copy and paste this phone number in. And one more thing that I wanted to show is that you want to, for your messages, you want to put in a couple of things. You want to edit these parameters so that you can put messaging, you want to put it into exactly this URL, copy, remove the zlotniks.com, put in whatever URL you registered, and then put in API acknowledgement. So the way you do that is you click on SMS. We're going to edit this number, sorry. You want to change that webhook right there. That's all you have to do, then save. That's pretty much it. You're going to go back to your .env file. You want to type in nano.env. I'm not going to do that because then all that passwords show up, but you want to edit just a few things in there to be able to handle that. And there's also a message URL, and the basic format will be in the instructions here. So I forgot to mention, anytime you modify your .env file, you have to do a forever restart all because the environmental files will get reloaded. So remember, every time you change the .env, real simple command, it looks like nothing happened. Trust me, it did. That's all you have to do, and that'll take care of everything. So if you've made it this far, you should be done. From here on out, you should be able to receive phone calls. Everything should work as you expect. I'm going to go ahead and tear down this demo site because the point was just to build it from scratch and kind of retrace my steps on everything that I've already done, but I'm too cheap to spend the $5 a month to keep it going. If you want to see a working demo, go ahead and check out www.thezlotniks.com. And if my daughter's glucose is running high, please don't judge. We're all in this together, folks. Thanks a lot. Have any questions, let me know.